Today we'll be introducing MoneyMQ, a new tool from the team that brought you Surfpool. With this tool, we're bringing the best DevX for x402. Currently, when you want to receive payments through x402, all of the tooling requires you to use DevNet. But we know what devs want, to start local first with quick iteration and low dependencies. We've built MoneyMQ to give you just that. When you start the MoneyMQ sandbox, we spin up a surfnet under the hood with fully funded accounts ready to use x402. We're also starting a local facilitator which is funded to pay your transaction fees. If we take a look at the dashboard, we can see live data from the facilitator and payout account. Here on the Integrate tab, we can see the accounts we've pre-funded with USDC that are ready to simulate paying for services. Let's jump into a barebones project that is utilizing x402. Here we have an API with a protected route that requires payment to access it. This API uses the standard x402 libraries and configures the cost for each endpoint. It sets the payout address for when the end user pays for the resource, it sets the facilitator UR, and it sets the cost for each of the endpoints. From there, we can just set up our routes and the resources that are going to be served. If we start the API and try to fetch the endpoint, we can see that the full x402 payment required header is returned with the response. Here we also have code for a client that is trying to access this protected resource. This client uses the standard x402 library to fetch the protected route, parse the returned payment required header, and refetch the protected route with the necessary payment header included. When we're ready to run this client, we can grab one of the private keys from the accounts we've already funded and include it in our env file. When we run this, we can see the signer being initialized, which has USDC to pay for the resource. We can see it attempting to access the protected resource, but getting the 402 payment required error response. We can see it attempting to access the endpoint again with the x402 payment attached, and we can see it being properly served that resource. Under the hood, the API sends the attached transaction to the facilitator, which signs the USDC transfer to pay transaction fees, and broadcasts the transaction to the local network. From there, the client is given access to the protected route. If we take a look at the MoneyMQ dashboard, we can see that the user who paid for the service had USDC deducted from their account. The facilitator's SOL balance decreased from when it paid the transaction fees, and our payout account has received the user's funds. We can also inspect the payment that was sent to see the full x402 handshake. From the initial payment required response that the API sent to the client, to the verify request that was received by the API, and the response the API received when it forwarded this request to the facilitator, as well as the final settle request that the API sent to the facilitator. We can also inspect the full transaction on our local explorer that is pointing to our surfnet. As you can see, MoneyMQ is giving you a completely local development environment for experimenting with x402. This flow is just the tip of the iceberg in the DevX we plan to bring to x402 on Solana. So please star the repo and follow along for more.